I think it's really hard when eczema takes over our lives. I think people don't realize this who don't have eczema. They feel like, oh, this is just a skin condition. Just slap some stuff on there and you'll be fine. But no, this takes over your life. Going live to talk about your eczema stories. I want to say thank you for everybody who submitted their eczema stories. And we had some really good stories that were shared, and a lot of them just really got to me because I myself am an eczema survivor, and hearing these stories really hits home and hits a place in my heart where I really want to address the root cause and really help these people to understand how to address the root cause. So we are going to go through actually a lot of the stories, and I'll just kind of let you know how I would like to think about those root cause issues. So I want to start with someone who said, my son is 25 and has eczema since he was a toddler. It has gotten significantly worse in the last 2 years, spreading everywhere, including his face and scalp. He's had allergy tests, seen dermatologists, and tried many remedies, balms, and creams. The continual flare-ups make every day challenging. So what I want to think about here is what happened when he was a toddler? So that would be the first question I ask at this discovery consultation. What happened when he was a toddler? Was it food, right? Like, what was the external thing that caused an overflowing of the system? And often that is related to food, is one of the biggest issues, right? Sometimes some other things to think about would be, did the child take antibiotics? Did they have ear infections at that time? Were they eating a lot of dairy and gluten? So that's something to think about. And then why in the last 2 years did it start spreading everywhere? Did your 25-year-old son start drinking alcohol? Did he take a vaccination, an antibiotic, some type of external influence on the system? So if we meet for a discovery consultation, these are some of the questions I'd love to ask to understand why. And there's always an answer. That's really one thing I want to get across in this IG Live, is there's always an answer. The why can always be answered. It doesn't need to just be, let's put this steroid cream or let's silence those symptoms. It's, why is this happening? That's really what I want to really come across today. The next person says, my son is 6 months old and has eczema all over his face. I believe we passed some unfortunate things to him. I did a mold detox before getting pregnant after living in mold, but I suspect there are lingering things related that were passed on to him. This is really important. Genetics does play a role. And yes, if we see in the family line that genetically there's a lot of inflammatory diseases like eczema, asthma, etc., yes, this can be a predisposition. But what's even more important is, I'm calling it a predisposition because it doesn't necessarily mean that your offspring is definitely going to have eczema. What happens in your environment is called epigenetics, and that means that what you do in your life, in your lifestyle, what you eat, what you're exposed to, plays actually an even bigger role, I would say, for a lot of the genetics that we might look into, and we could look into genetics. If you did a mold detox before getting pregnant, I wonder, did you eradicate all of the mold? Did you improve your microbiome prior to delivery of your baby? Because it's possible that, your microbiome is absolutely transferred onto your baby. And so that could be something that's still lingering. Maybe you did a mold detox, but the mold is still in your body. That's a possibility. I find mold very frequently in my patients with eczema. And I actually see it a lot in little babies and kids, especially when you see there's kind of this like hypopigmented color, okay? And of course, for all of this, you guys want to make sure that this is information for you, but these informational points, really you need to see a practitioner or someone who can analyze your situation individually. But I'm just going to give you some clues as to how I question. How do I get to the root cause? What questions do I ask? And I think it's really about asking the right questions and then getting the right answers. Okay, another person said, I've been struggling for 5 years now. I've never had any major skin problems and been very health conscious. This person is a wildlife biologist and she's not been able to work in the field. I'm so sorry to hear this. And I think it's really hard when eczema takes over our lives. I think people don't realize this who don't have eczema. They feel like, oh, this is just a skin condition. Just slap some stuff on there and you'll be fine. But no, this takes over your life. And if you guys haven't watched my Journey to Clean Skin interview with Yahira, I would recommend you go to the link in my bio and watch it, because she was in a really severe place. She had to quit her job. And by the end of it, her skin was totally clear. She has a wonderful job. She's engaged. And it's just such a wonderful thing to see the journey, the real journey. And it took her, her skin got better after 3 months, but it took her a whole year to really get to the root cause of every single thing that she was dealing with. So I want you to know there's absolutely hope, okay? We need to ask the right questions, and it looks like you're already doing things to make sure that you're healthy. So I think this can be very frustrating when someone is eating right, they're outside, they're exercising, they're like, why is my skin screaming out to me? And unfortunately, sometimes these are things that you just kind of don't understand or know the burdens. So I would ask you, 5 years ago, what happened to you? Did you change your job? Did you take a medication? Did you have a trauma? That can really play a big role too. What happened? And I want you to really analyze and think about, okay, what happened? Not just medically or health-wise, but what also happened emotionally. All of these things play a role. We cannot separate the organs of our system, the systems of our body. We cannot separate these things. They're all working together. Our hormones are working together, etc. Maybe you changed your diet. I've actually found that some people will go vegetarian or vegan, and then now all of a sudden they have a ton of symptoms. So sometimes a vegan vegetarian diet isn't right for everybody. Sometimes it's great. So it's really individualized, right? What your problems are, what your issues are, what your burdens are. Not everyone is going to have the same issues. The next person says, my son is turning 5 in December. Since he was born, he suffered from eczema till this day. He has asthma and allergies. He's seen numerous doctors and specialists. They all just say the same thing and prescribe him steroid creams or Dupixent, which we don't want to go forward with. He's itchy every single day and wakes up and scratches with blood on the sheets. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear this. And asthma, allergies, and eczema, they're all related, and they often mean that there's some kind of burden on the system, toxicity or microbial wise. One thing that I've really found is that mold can play a big role, especially when there's asthma and allergies. So we want to think about that. But other microbes as well too, bacterial overgrowth, yeast overgrowth, fungal overgrowth. So I would want to know what the diet looks like, what the microbiome looks like. For children who are born via C-section, they definitely have less of a microbiome diversity than we want them to. So if your child was born by C-section, if your child was not breastfed, that could also change the microbiome as well too. So these are all things to just take into consideration. Like, don't beat yourself up for it. Just say, okay, this is something to take into consideration. So we want to think about it that way, but we also may want to think about toxicity. But often when it's asthma, allergies, we want to think about microbes. We also want to think about gut health. These microbes, your gut is made up of numerous microbes that are really helping the body to do its job. So if the microbiome isn't really diverse and really doing the job it needs to do, that gut may not be working well. I would ask if if your son is having constipation and those types of issues. So these are the types of ways we need to unravel what's happening. It's not simple. And, it's not one answer for every person. I think people ask me, oh, well, Dr. Fong, what cream can I use? That is not the answer, unfortunately. We need to think about and unravel the puzzle pieces. The next person says, my daughter is 21 years old. She suffers from severe eczema. We tried everything like phototherapy, medication, cortisone creams, and many more. And after a few months, when her body gets used to the treatment, it goes back to zero. So unfortunately, this is what happens. And with Yahira, the person that I said you guys can watch her interview, she came to me 3 years into Dupixent. Dupixent was working really well. And then towards the end, it just stopped working. And you'll see her skin is super inflamed. However, when she would come off Dupixent, it would get even worse. And these medications are really only silencing the alarm. I need you guys to think about the eczema as an alarm. It's just an alarm going off, and that's really it. And we need to turn off that alarm, but not just by silencing it, but by going internally, looking at what's internally imbalanced. That's how we really need to fix this problem. So for a 21-year-old, I would think about a lot of things like also alcohol consumption, food intake, that kind of thing, but all the other things I mentioned too, microbiome imbalances, toxicity. This person says, I've grown up with eczema, starting with it mostly on my arms, legs, and stomach as a child. Many doctor's appointments and multiple tests run, different drugs, but no changes. High school was the best. For some reason, it cleared up. And then the worst it's been is 3 years ago at the age of 29. So again, this is the first thing I want you guys to ask yourself. What happened 3 years ago? You were 29. Did you start a new job? Did you change your environment? Is there toxicity in your environment? What I want you to think about, toxins we get through our mouth, through our skin, and we inhale them. So think about your environment. Think about what you're putting in your mouth. Think about the medications you've used. Think about the trauma that you've had, because mental health plays a big role too. So this is how we need to unravel it. So if we do a discovery consultation together, that's how we start to unravel it. We will start to unravel it by really understanding, okay, what are those root cause issues, okay? I'm a new mom and struggling with severe eczema that started 2.5 years ago now. I've tried so many creams and light therapy, but really just want to get down to the root cause, want to be the best mom for my baby. Yes, it is so hard when our babies, well, it's like we don't know what to do. We don't know how to fix this problem. This is actually you, mom. Now, what happens during pregnancy is often the increased hormones of pregnancy can actually put a burden on our liver. And then when our liver is burdened like that, if we're also really stressed out after the delivery and all of that, and you will be if you have eczema and a new baby, this can also play a role in keeping your eczema where it's at, because your adrenal hormones, your stress hormones play a really big role in lowering inflammation in your body. So this was actually me. I did a post a couple of weeks ago where I talked about how when I was pregnant the first time, I had severe eczema, and that happens frequently just because of the hormones of pregnancy, and you already have a burden on your liver. So you're kind of putting more burden on your liver during pregnancy. So it's really common, and all we got to do is clean you up. If you're no longer breastfeeding, we can do some detoxes and clean you up. If you are still breastfeeding, which I don't know if 2.5 years later you are, so maybe you are, then we'll need to think about it a different way. But that's kind of how we want to look at it, okay? This person says, my daughter is almost 2 years old, and what I thought was a dry patch of skin on her tummy is now all over her legs and arms. Up until now, I thought eczema was primarily a skin issue. And yes, you're not alone. We all think it's just a skin issue because that's what our doctors have told us. This is a skin problem. And in conventional medicine, we are separating everything, right? We're separating our gut issue and our headaches and our skin issue and all of these things, which are not separate. They are actually one and the same. The root cause is one and the same. So almost 2 years old. Okay, so if it started as a dry patch on her tummy, I wonder, sometimes that's food related. Sometimes maybe, there's a microbiome issue. Maybe she took an antibiotic because she had an ear infection, which actually the root cause of the ear infection could have actually been some nutritional inflammation. So that's how we want to think about that, okay? My son had eczema since he was born. Now after a year, he has allergies, food reactions to different types of food, even tomato. And we went to do 4 different dermatologists and allergist doctors to find a solution, but only always offering steroid cream. So sorry to hear this, guys. I know, I was in the same place. So if your son had eczema since he was born, he has had an imbalance in his gut microbiome, likely his gut health, all of that since he was born. And so the reactions that are happening now are probably just starting to compound upon themselves, and those reactions are getting more and more and more. And if you don't fix the reason that the reactions are happening, which in my opinion would be that the there's a lot of inflammation in the gut. We need to fix that inflammation. Now, doing a protocol to fix the gut is usually a 4-hour program. So we remove the offending foods like gluten, dairy, sugar, eggs, tomatoes, which would be nightshades, for example. We are going to remove, remove, repair, replace, restore. So we're going to replace any missing, like digestive enzymes might not be high enough. Maybe the pancreas isn't working. Maybe bile acids aren't working because the liver is so congested. So we replace. Number 3 is repair. So we use certain herbs and things like that to repair the gut lining. And lastly, we finally restore the microbiome with probiotics and prebiotics and things like that. If there's a lot of allergies and intolerance, it typically does mean there's a lot of inflammation in the gut. And sometimes we can clear up those allergies, intolerances, etc., or get them better at least by actually healing the gut and healing the liver and healing the hormones, because also when you're very stressed out, your hormones aren't going to work well and your inflammation is going to go right up. So I'll give you an example of me. I used to be allergic to shrimp. When I had really bad eczema, I was allergic to shrimp, and now I can eat shrimp. Now I don't choose to eat shrimp because shrimp actually has like high cadmium and they're bottom feeders. They're not high in omega-3s. So, they're protein, but they can have some problems that come along with them, especially if they're farmed shrimp. So I tend to not eat shrimp actually in general, but I can eat shrimp. And every time I eat shrimp, I'm always a little afraid. But I used to be allergic. Like I used to get a reaction where I would have redness all over my neck. And I remember I would dig real in there. I would end up with like cuts all over my neck. And now I can have shrimp. And so I think a big part of that is I like to say my funnel is cleaner. So my funnel is no longer overflowing. So all of the toxins that are in shrimp, they can go through my system quite easily. Any of the allergens that I used to have from shrimp, my inflammation overall is really way down. So, and I don't know if I hit a threshold, I might still have a reaction, but I never hit the threshold. I only eat a little bit of shrimp if I do end up eating shrimp. Okay. This person says, I'm turning 30 next month and I've recently made it my number 1 priority, heal my eczema. Good for you. I've had eczema for as long as I can remember. It was severe as a child, but became manageable as a teen, young adult. Last couple years, it's come back with a vengeance and new places on my body. Okay, so again, what happened the last couple years? That's what you guys need to start thinking about. What was the external influence? It's an external influence, right? Like, our bodies want to be healthy, everyone. Our bodies want to heal. Our bodies want to do what's right. Our bodies don't want to have symptoms. It's actually hard for our body to have a symptom. What I want you guys to see for the symptom, it's really just your body's way of trying to give you an alarm and helping you to fix that problem. So I want you to see that. So what happened a couple years ago, right? And also now you're thinking maybe you have TSW. So how do you guys determine if you have TSW? Well, first of all, it might be good to kind of meet with someone who understands what TSW is, but oftentimes it's a redness all over your skin. It's flaring, it's hot, it's burning, it's oozing, it's cracking. And it's a little different from eczema that it's really hot and burning, and that's really kind of like the keynote, I would say. It's like really burning and red, and you might actually see it as a sleeve. So like a sleeve here, or maybe on your face, you see it a sleeve on your neck kind of thing. I had TSW when I was pregnant. It was horrible. And it's I hope, nobody goes through this, because it's just a really, really bad thing. Now, in that it just feels so horrible. It's like you can't control what your body's doing. But I want you to know there is absolutely answers here. Some things to think about for TSW, we need to actually support those hormonal systems. Make sure we're doing things like not drinking caffeine, getting to sleep better, supporting the adrenals is really, really important. And then we also can do things to lower what's happening with TSW is you're having this vasodilation at your skin, which means that the vessels are kind of opening up And that's why you're seeing a redness, you're seeing a heat and a flare, okay? And that is what will cause that redness, that burning. So we need to do things to silence that. So I really like using cold for that. So cold therapy like ice or cryotherapy. A lot of my TSW patients will actually go get cryotherapy like multiple times a week because that actually lowers the inflammation. You could also just get ice packs and put it over your skin as well too to lower that inflammation. You could also do things like topical B12, which I also like. Again, make sure you're working with a practitioner when you try certain things just to make sure these are okay for you, okay? All right, we're almost through the end of some of the people I wanted to talk about. My son has had eczema since 4 months. He's now 2.5. So first of all, what happened at 4 months, right? One thing to think about is we do get vaccinations at the 4-month mark. And now I'm not saying that everyone shouldn't be getting vaccinations, but it is something to think about as, again, that external influence that could have caused a problem in the system, right? Just something to think about, okay? And he's now 2.5, from the eczema to itching to bleeding, weeping skin to eczema, etc. And you think he went through TSW. So again, if it started at 4 months, that's one of the things I would think about. Maybe you introduced foods at 4 months. That's another thing to think about. Another, again, external influence, okay? I don't want you guys just to blame this on genetics. I think I hear this a lot. Oh, it's just part of my family. It's not anything I can do anything about. It's just not true. Epigenetics is really the study of how the environment affects our genetics, and that's really what I want you guys to think about. Vanessa, thank you for sharing. I cut caffeine and alcohol and helped so much. Woo! Caffeine I don't like because it actually affects your hormones. I want you guys to think of caffeine as a drug, and so if you're asking your hormones to balance and you're doing caffeine, you're actually taking a drug and still asking your body to fix that problem. So again, drugs kind of do the job for us as opposed to helping our bodies to understand how to do the job, okay? All right. My daughter is almost 4. She has suffered from severe eczema all over her body for about 2 to 3 years now. It's been worse, okay? And this person says, I'm 37 years old and never had any skin issues. Last year, eczema appeared around my eyes and nasal area as well as neck. It was very severe. Okay, this is the last one I want to cover. 37 years old, no skin issues, and all of a sudden you're seeing this pop up. This is another type of case that I see. And again, I want to ask, what happened? What happened at 37 years old? And there has to be something that changed. Now, the other thing is, as we get older, our funnel gets more and more and more full. So that's another problem to think about. Maybe it wasn't just one event that caused this. Maybe it was a slow progression of things. You're eating poor foods, you're not exercising, you're super stressed, etc. You're just filling that funnel nice and slow. Then all of a sudden, as you're getting closer to 35, 36, 37, you start to see these symptoms pop up. Now, sometimes people are like, oh, it's just me getting older. Now, yes, there's, of course, your body is going to get older and not work as well. But I have seen and treated like 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds who are like doing phenomenally well because they are so clean. So I really like to think of aging as actually a problem of what we're doing in our lives. And there's so much you can do to fix that problem. And really, you should be, operating at optimal function, hopefully till the day you die, if you really do a great job with the way you're dealing with your lifestyle, your food, etc. So for this 37-year-old, maybe it's just an accumulation over time. Maybe something happened, but often there's something that happened, okay? If you do decide to book that free consultation, we'll reach out to you. We'll give you a code for that. And if you do decide to book that consultation, we're going to unravel it a whole lot more. What I want you guys to do is download our app. We have an app. You're going to get a journaling system. And in that journaling system, I want you guys to post the pictures of your skin, the pictures of your poop. I know it's gross, guys, but your poop is so important. This is your exit. This is how you exit your toxins, okay? So your poop, I want to see pictures of your food. So post pictures of your food, please, so I can see what you're eating. What else? I want to know your mental state? Are you stressed? Are you, if you guys even want to give me the story now that you kind of know how we want to unravel this, some of you said, 3 years ago is when it got worse. Okay, let's go 3 years. Give me the story. What happened 3 years ago? And start to think about that before we meet. Okay. Then it is a virtual consultation. That's 25 minutes. We'll meet. We'll understand what's going on. I'll give you guys some tools even at that meeting. And then we'll decide together what might be the best approach for you, whether that be working with my team or maybe even finding support somewhere else, okay? Again, you guys really, as I was going through these, I was like, oh my goodness. And waterworks in my eyes just because I know what it's like, and I know what it's like to not have the answers. I feel so blessed to be in a place where I can really support you guys, give you guys these answers on a weekly basis, and then work with some of you individually, really get into your lives and understand all of the factors. And at the end, have you guys be in a place of clean body health, clean skin health, clean body health. And clean body health is where all of your organs are functioning optimally. Okay. Also, part of that consultation, we'll want you guys to do 2 assessments. One assessment is to check your overall organ function. The other assessment is to check your pillar health. And that means are you eating well? Are you exercising? That kind of thing. Check out my free masterclass if you want to learn more about eczema and how to get to the root cause. The link is in my bio. Also, subscribe to my podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube. I'm releasing videos there every single week. And check out our free assessment if you just want to learn, okay, what are some of the root causes? What organs are imbalanced? And how can I fix that problem? Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, being vulnerable. And I am so looking forward to meeting you. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.